This is the LG G8 ThinQ. And again, LG, for your own sake, I'm just gonna call it the LG G8. So this is your first look at LG's high-end flagship phone for 2019, and right off the bat, design-wise, it's looking pretty familiar. This to me feels like a design that probably could have been updated a bit, but LG is sticking to their guns here. So they're keeping the fingerprint reader on the back instead of putting it underneath the glass. They're keeping the notch and the full array of front-facing sensors at the top, and a slightly thicker than average bezel all the way around. I mean, it's not bad, but when you compare it to some of the stuff that's coming out now, you see where I'm coming from. Then they're keeping the headphone jack, which people will love, and it's backed by that high-quality DAC. They're keeping the boombox speakers that kind of vibrate the phone at high volumes, but that get really loud. It's still IP68 certified. It still has the Google Assistant button on the left-hand side, and it still has dual cameras. They did shrink the camera bump to 0 though, so credit to them for achieving the rare, perfectly flat back. That is nice, and the phone itself isn't actually that thick either, so it's nice to get this balanced feel in the hand. And the specs are updated for 2019, as you'd expect. So Snapdragon 855, and then every spec will be 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage, and there's a 3500 milliamp hour battery, which should be good enough for this 6.1-inch OLED display. But of course, really using the phone will reveal whether that's true or not. So you may notice there's no holes or cutout at the top of this phone where the earpiece or speaker usually is. That's because LG's brought some of that fancy vibrating OLED tech down from their TVs into the phone. So it's called Crystal Sound OLED. And so essentially the top half of the OLED display is the front-facing earpiece now. So you get to put your ear up to it and use it just like any normal phone call. But the advantage is now it's holeless, so it's better for water resistance. The sweet spot is bigger to hear your phone call using stuff that they're calling Vein ID. And I tried it out. I registered my palm by floating my hand over the phone for a couple of seconds, and then tried the unlock, and sure enough, it worked. I'd like to try this against some other people's hands and really see like how secure this is. It might not even be as secure as the 3D facial recognition that it also has, but it's pretty cool nevertheless to just wave over your phone and it unlocks for you. You get to avoid that awkward like leaning in over your phone to unlock it, like you have to do it. You have to hold your palm over the phone at just the right angle, and you'll see this little bar appear. And once you get it just right, then you back your hand up a couple inches, and when you do, you'll see an image of your now motion-tracked hand appear on the screen, and you can do actions from there. So from there, you can do customizable app shortcuts to open stuff. You can dismiss or enable phone calls, alarms, change volume, take screenshots, etc. And it's kind of cool when it works. You can be watching a YouTube video, for example, and do the whole gesture thing to get it to play. And if you get it just right, you can adjust playback or even do the twisting motion to change the volume knob, like you're just turning this imaginary volume knob over the phone. I was always searching for the sweet spot to get it to recognize my hand just right. Like sometimes I was too low, sometimes too high, sometimes too close to the phone or too far away, and it would give me feedback on the screen to fix it. But I guess the longer you use the phone, the more you'll get used to it and conquer the learning curve and get it in the sweet spot every time. But the fact that it was so finicky kind of gave it this gimmicky feel, like I didn't really built the way to get into things, but we have voice assistants now that are kind of doing more already, so it just kind of feels a little. Basically, the LG G8, pricing for it is going to be similar to the G7, so in line with flagships, somewhere in the neighborhood of $800 like last year.